Okay, am I live now? Let me get my microphone. Okay, I guess you couldn't hear me because I didn't have my headset on. I guess I'm live now. I am Nelson Jones. I founded Trafficking Insights last year. Founded is a strong term since I'm not a nonprofit organization, but I created this page last year during the summer, and this is my pride and joy. It's great to have a platform where I can raise some awareness and have some discussions. And I'm getting ready to do my first interview in what I hope to be a series, which is going to be a series of interviews with survivors of trafficking and the people and nonprofits which help them. So I'm so thrilled to be doing this. And I've got my guest, Shannon Martinez. She should be joining here shortly. She's been doing her makeup. Shannon, well, I'll wait till she gets here to really introduce her, but I'm actually serving as a volunteer outreach director for Shannon's organization. So I'm just going to wait on her to join, and then we'll learn all about Shannon and the work that she does, and hopefully talk about her experience as well. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day today. Waiting with bated breath for the arrival of Mrs. Shannon Martinez. Here she comes. Well, hey there, Shannon.
How are you?
I'm great. What about you?
Good. I'm going to grab my headset like you have so that I don't have any feedback with my microphone. Give me 2 seconds. You'll have to excuse me. I cut the crap out of my leg today.
Ah, brutal.
So, yeah, hubby came home to a bleeding leg. It was great.
Sorry to hear that. I hope you're feeling better.
It's all right. It's my own fault. Hold on. There we go.
Can't hear you now. No?
Do this without the headphones.
Okay, I think it'll work great. I can hear you great.
Okay. So,
Okay.
how have you been?
I've been good. It's been a great week, and you know, I really want to thank you so much for participating in this today. I also want to thank you for just giving me the opportunity to serve you and help with your organization. I've been so thrilled about it, and it's just great. But yeah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for participating today. You made my day after the
Oh,
cancellation. Being able to have a surprise guest here, that's just wonderful.
it's hard for women to tell their stories, so you'll get a lot of cancellations.
Yeah, that's
You
something
know,
that and
or they like to tell their story, but they don't want their face put to it. You know
right,
what I
I'm
mean?
taking that into consideration.
Yeah, it's a thing. And unless you're a public advocate, it's really hard to put your face out there.
Right.
You know? I'm so used to talking to people that I'm just like, whatever. What are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
I
Judge
mean,
me?
right. I kind of feel the same way. Like, I mean, I'm not exactly happy to have lived through some of the things that I've lived through. Certainly don't make me proud, but at the end of the day, I'm glad to be represented in any form or capacity.
Yeah, and you've got a rare story because men are so rarely trafficked. I think they account for 1 to 2% of trafficking victims are male, unless you're talking about labor trafficking.
Yes. No, I mean, the my trafficking attempt was of a sexual nature. But
Mm.
yeah, I am glad to kind of like be a voice for the minority, if you will. And it's
Mhm.
difficult, I'll tell you. It's very difficult being a male in this industry and just gaining trust. And, unfortunately, my situation is unverified. I really wish it would be verified one day. I've contacted the FBI and whatnot. But who knows what'll happen in the future. But yeah,
Mine, mine is completely undocumented. Law enforcement. The one time they got involved, I wasn't at the brothel.
mm-hmm,
I was out recruiting because I was the bottom bitch.
mm,
And I came home. I'm walking home and all I saw was cop cars everywhere. And I was like, okay, not gonna go in there. Um, they took everything though. They took my computer, they took all of the money that was in my room. Like they took everything. So I was literally left with nothing.
ooh,
So yeah, I had the money in my pocket, which I think at the time was like $50. And that was it. That was it. Yeah. So I ended up doing what we call, or I call, self-trafficking. I
yes.
knew what I knew what the appointments were. I just shifted them to a hotel and kept going from there, one foot in front of the other. Take on as many Johns as it takes to pay for a hotel room and eat for the next day. And that was it. That was it.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. That hotel living is rough.
It is. And when all you talk to is Johns, and I had several pimps afterwards, you don't and hotel hallways, I mean, who are you going to talk to? The hotel staff? Like there
Yeah.
was nobody to talk to. So the isolation is insane. I spent 4 years in almost complete isolation. So
Oh,
coming out and meeting people and having friendships has been an issue. Like it's hard to figure out how to do that,
it
especially.
really, it really is. Yeah, that was very hard for me because I mean, I would sit there and I would market myself as, a successful individual who could just come up with quick money and stuff. But then you get to meeting people and it's like, oh, well, what do you do for work? And where do you live? And it's very hard to just blend in.
Exactly, exactly. And even still to this day, as an advocate, I still find that making friends, like making friends through church, that once they find out, they're like, oh no, you were a sinner. You know, that's
That's
why
very hypocritical and contradictory to the spirit of Christianity.
exactly. And that's why we use the scripture that we use, that we won't
Yeah.
punish your daughters.
Remind me of it.
Huh?
Remind me of it again. I do recall
Um,
it.
I always get it wrong. It's Hosea 4:14.
Okay. I'm going to type it in real quick, and if you don't mind, I'll just read it for
No, no
everyone.
problem. If
So
not, I'll
this,
just grab my Bible. It's behind me.
this is basically Shannon's mission statement, if you will, kind of the burst that inspired her organization, Shannon Speaks. And I meant to introduce you, but then when we got to talking, if people don't know, Shannon Martinez, she leads Shannon Speaks, which is based out of Washington, D.C. That is a platform that she uses to perform outreach and kind of share her experience and change lives. And she also runs Shame Eaters. Now, I'm not too familiar with Shame Eaters, but let me read this verse for everyone, and you can tell us a little bit about Shame Eaters as well.
Okay.
It's Hosea 4:14. I will not punish your daughters when they turn to prostitution, nor your daughters-in-law when they commit adultery, because the men themselves consort with harlots and sacrifice with shrine prostitutes. A people without understanding will come to ruin. It's a very good verse, and the Johns are just unclean, if you will, as those involved in the lifestyle. A lot of times we see the stigma around prostitutes, but we don't so much see the stigma around John.
No, I mean, you get caught, John gets caught, he gets a $50 fine and a slap on the wrist, and it's the, oh, boys will be boys thing,
Mhm.
and that's ridiculous.
It certainly is.
Pimps for pandering, again, it's just a fine, and they go free. Now,
Pandering?
girls, huh? Pandering
Pandering?
is, huh?
I said, you're saying they're getting fines for pandering. Now, that was, I'm sure there's more than one definition of pandering. When I think of pandering, I think of the placement of ads on the internet to advertise.
That's part of it. 90% of all prostitution either happens in illicit massage parlors or online. They list the girls online. This whole, oh, if we change the laws, it's going to push it underground. It's already underground. It's on the internet. You can order a girl just as easy as you can order a pizza.
Oh, yeah. Long to set something up.
Yeah, that's why we as an organization are so strongly advocating for the Nordic model, where the girl is decriminalized, and there's increased fines for buyers, and there's increased fines for pimps, and hopefully that stems the flow, but also it offers things that can help girls exit. So instead of arresting a girl, it's, are you okay? Here's some organizations. Where can we take you? Here's a shelter. Things like that. Rather than putting them in jail, it's considered, under most cases, like when you go for employment, that stays on your record.
Yes.
Nobody wants to hire a prostitute.
Sex offender registration.
Yep, that too. And I believe that pimps should be on sex offender registries as well.
Oh, definitely.
I know that they don't always prey on children, but a lot of times they do. They prey on vulnerable teenage girls. So I definitely think they and buyers should be put on the sex offender registry. It should stay on their record. And employers should not be, oh, you were arrested for buying a prostitute. No big deal. Really?
Right.
So one of the things we advocate for, and we're trying to get into businesses like we did Amazon, things like that, we want them to understand that a prostitution charge isn't necessarily what they think. And trying to get them,
bigger story.
Yeah, as long as the girl has no violent record, there's no reason why they shouldn't hire her.
Yeah.
Prostitution, help her get out of prostitution. Give her a job.
Exactly. That's what's so critical, and why so many people remain trapped in the lifestyle. They don't have a support network. They're not getting opportunities. Nobody has any faith in them, and it's just so critical and vital to recovery.
I have been blessed to never have been arrested. I had run-ins with law enforcement, but I was never arrested, thankfully.
Same here.
You
Well,
know?
I never got arrested during or for my sex career.
Yeah, if I was, I don't know what I would do. My husband
Right.
would lose his clearance. He works for the government. If he was
Uh-huh.
married to someone with a criminal record, they're going to not give him as high of a clearance as he has, because they're not going to trust the fact that his wife is going to be on board with all of that. So,
Right.
you know, it's crazy. It really is. It's crazy.
I
Um,
completely agree.
yeah. So anyway, so what were your questions for me?
Well, if you don't mind being a little bit open about it, what
Sure.
exactly happened with your experience? How did it go down? What did you live through?
It is a long story. I started out, my mother had sugar daddies my whole life.
Uh-huh.
I'm the product of one of those sugar daddies. Actually, through 23andMe, I found out who my father is. How messed up
What happened?
is that? Through 23andMe, you know, the DNA test?
Oh, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, 23andMe, it's like Ancestry.com, but you send in your DNA
Yes.
and they connect you with other people that you may or may not be related to. I found out I have a half sister. I found out who my father was. I found out what my nationalities were, like all these things I didn't know. I haven't reached out and contacted my father because obviously I wasn't intended by him. And he's married now. How do you explain? Hi, I'm the daughter he had with basically a prostitute. How you doing? My mom, I went to her multiple times when stepfathers were molesting me. And her answer was always, well, they pay the rent. What do you want me to do? So that in and of itself is a form of trafficking. You know,
Yeah.
she was using me for financial gain. Then, and I lived in a hypersexualized family. Like all the women in my family were strippers. It was understood if you wanted to go to college, you were going to be a stripper. Like that was your scholarship fund. So I grew up in this mentality that that's what women do. So I got married. I had my kids young. I got married. I got divorced by 23. I had 2 little girls. And I started out doing my first foray into the sex industry was phone sex and video chat sex.
Yeah.
And, you know, I made money doing that. Then I finally found a legitimate job, you know, doing marketing, etc. And I got remarried. And what he would do is drug me. He would use Ambien and mix it in with wine, and I wouldn't know. And then he would actually sell me online so he could watch other men have sex with me.
Oh, that is so awful.
Yeah, they would pay $20 to come out and have sex with me so he could watch. Yeah. I didn't learn about this until one day I woke up naked on the floor at the bottom of my steps and my left leg wouldn't move. And he basically came down the stairs ready for work, stepped over me, told me it was my own damn fault and that I was making it up. And he left. I managed to crawl my way to the phone because back then we actually had phones, like wall phones.
Yeah, Layla.
You know? And I called my best friend, who I was her nanny. And all I said to her was, I can't take care of Lily today. I'm really sorry, but something's going on and I'm not feeling well. And she just knew from the tone of my voice, like I had never, ever, ever not taken her daughter. It didn't matter how I felt. She was like my kid. So she automatically knew something was wrong. So she called my other best friend and was like, something's wrong with Shannon. We need to go to the house. Thankfully, they came to the house. They had a house key. They came in. They found me on the couch, still naked, covered with a blanket, and unable to move my left leg completely. My left leg was ice cold. It was blue. And automatically, between the two of them, they carried me to the car. They wrapped me in a blanket, carried me to the car, took me to the hospital. And it turned out that I had crushed my L4 and my L5. And that was what was causing the left pain, the left leg to not want to move. Now, over 18 months, the nerves kind of healed a little. I still have a lot of problems with my left leg. I still use a walker. I sometimes use a wheelchair. Really depends on the day. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and he didn't come to visit once. My husband, he didn't come to visit once.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he, I guess because he knew it was his fault and he was afraid I was going to tell somebody.
Right.
But because I had been drugged, I didn't know whose fault it was.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I had one experience where I thought I may have been drugged. I don't know what happened. My memory's very hazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a very threatening scenario to find yourself in, and just to have it happen like that repeatedly and not even be aware of it, wake up with your leg injury. My heart really goes out to you on that. That's so awful.
It's, you know what, it's done. I live a good life now. I have a great husband. So it's okay. I also have good health insurance, which covers everything. I've actually this year had a spinal cord stimulator implanted to help. And that really does help. It helps the leg work a little more.
Great.
Massively painful surgery. I was like, oh, it's just a little tiny pack. Little did I know how bad it was gonna hurt. But so it was a little tiny pack and then 2 slits down the sides of my spine. So it was not fun. It was not fun at all. But it's been worth it. It's been worth it just to have some relief. And to get off the narcotics, because I can't stand the idea of being on narcotics.
Yeah,
like I would
drag you down.
Yeah, I would take them, like they said, take them twice a day, morning and night. I would take them when the pain got to be so much that I couldn't handle it anymore. Other than that, I didn't take them. And then they stopped prescribing them because they said I wasn't using them enough.
Doctors do some ridiculous things sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Shannon, if you'll excuse me for just a brief moment, I need to use the restroom, and I will be right back.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Oh, shoot. After my leg. This one really hurts. My leg really hurts. Really, really hurts.
You okay?
Yeah, I took a break too. I had to go blow my nose.
Okay.
I don't know about where you are, but it is allergy season here.
Oh, that's allergies have been dragging me down. I mean, I smoke a lot, so I almost attributed it to cigarettes, but I believe it's this pollen in the air that's left me with a nasty cough. Now, here over the past 2 days, I've started to feel a bit better. After about a week, I think I'm over the brunt of it, but it's been rough.
Have you tried Flonase?
No, actually, I have. I tried Flonase a few years back, and that did help me a little bit with congestion.
Yeah, it takes a few days, but it really does help. I use it every single day. I mean, pollen here is so bad that literally it turns everything green.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, every time I walk outside of my door, I see like little white specks floating through the air.
Yep. When
It's
we're
a
on the
pollen.
motorcycle, I wear a face mask, and my husband's like, you don't have to have that face mask on. I'm like, yeah, but it helps with all the pollen blowing in my face.
I almost put mine on yesterday mowing my grass.
Yeah, thankfully I live in a rental community. I don't have to do any of that.
But yeah, very smart woman with that tip. You know, everybody's happy that masking's over, and I am too. But it's really not a bad idea to wear a mask just in general. And it'll protect you from other diseases, not only COVID, and keep the pollen out of your lungs.
Yep, I use it for the pollen. I don't wear it when I go indoors anymore. I haven't had the shot, but I had COVID. So I already have the antibodies. I don't
So
need a shot.
you came down with COVID.
I came down with COVID. Yeah.
How was it? And for my next question, how did COVID affect your work with your activism and outreach?
Oh God, everything stopped. Everything stopped for about 2 weeks.
Yes,
If you've ever had the flu, like true influenza,
I did. I came down with it a couple of years ago, and I was sicker. The worst thing I could compare it to was mononucleosis. I
yep,
was sick.
yeah, it was like the flu, and mono is a good comparison as well. I was extra tired, and my bones ached. That was my biggest complaint, was my bones aching.
Yeah, well, it's good that you recovered from that.
Oh yeah, and I'm at high risk because of my asthma and my weakened immune system. That's one of the side effects of the wear and tear on your body when you're trafficked, is you
Yes.
can develop immune issues, physical issues. I have a lot of memory, and sometimes I have aphasia where the wrong words will come out, but that's from having multiple TBIs. I mean, I was beaten up so many times by Johns,
TBI, a traumatic body injury.
Hmm?
TBI, a traumatic body injury.
Traumatic brain injury.
Oh yes, traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, from being punched and having my head slammed into walls and all of that.
So sorry to hear that.
No, it's okay. So I have those issues. I also developed seizures, which is common after a traumatic brain injury as well. So, yeah. So those are my side effects that I'm left with. There's a plethora of other side effects that you can be left with.
Yes.
I know girls that, yeah, it's bad for them. And then you've got all the psychological issues.
I believe that my trauma left me with PTSD, and I've got to where I'm very good at managing it now. But
Hmm.
when it initially occurred, it really did shake me up and just change.
In the beginning, I didn't understand that it was PTSD.
Uh huh.
You know, it took, I got out of the life 2 years before I married my husband. And it took my husband to point out, hey, I think you have PTSD. Because we'd be in our apartment, just the two of us, and all of a sudden I would freak out because I felt trapped. You know what I mean? Like, I was
Yeah,
so
that
used
makes
to
sense.
being confined that I felt trapped. And that poor man, the things that he went through to calm me down, let me know it was okay. He'd be like, there's the front door. You want to walk out? Walk out. Go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go for a walk, take in some fresh air, do something you like. A lot of times I'll get on the bus and just get on the bus, get on the metro, and just wherever I go, I go.
Yeah, I don't
You
want
know,
you to think I'm not paying attention. I've actually got you on my TV, so I'm just staring at you there.
it's okay. I
Okay.
was trying I was trying to use my phone because I've got this nifty new rig that
Oh,
has
what?
this ring light on it. How
Yeah,
awesome is that?
that is
So you
great.
so
I
you can
just
look
found
at
out how to put an SD card in my phone today, and I'm very happy about that.
nice. Nice. See, I'm looking at you. All I see me is me on a tiny little thing, and then I see you.
Right, similar experience here. Um,
So,
yeah, the mental effects can be just devastating. It was very hard on my family to cope with me after what happened to me, and they would just try to reassure me and be like, I had a lot of people doubt my testimony for a
mhm,
very long time. Medical professionals, my family members, they said, well, this don't make sense. You're having a delusion. You're
mhm,
schizophrenic. I had to finally, after since 2017, talking to doctors, just about 2 weeks ago, I was able to find a therapist, and all of a sudden, I feel like they're starting to listen to me from an unbiased perspective and actually help me with my real problems instead of just saying, well, you're crazy. So that's
yeah,
great.
you're crazy. Here's a pill.
Yeah,
Here's a pill. The only
yeah,
pills I take are the ones that help me sleep because I still have night terrors and everything else. So I take medication that keeps me asleep.
uh-huh.
And, I normally wake up in the morning and I'm like, I didn't dream anything. And my husband's like, that's funny. You were punching at the air. Okay,
Yeah,
if you say so. He's like, I'm just glad you weren't facing me.
no, be careful.
Exactly. But I'll wake up and I'll have no memory of it. I'll be like,
Right.
really? I was having that bad of a dream?
Yeah.
Um,
They can be
but in
so
the
vivid sometimes.
oh, they can. And in the beginning, I would have, because my mother was my biggest abuser, I would have what they deem hag syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I've not.
Okay, hag syndrome is a known phenomenon. I mean, it's been known since biblical times where someone will wake up, you're somewhere between awake and a dream, but you can't move your body. You're
Yes,
completely,
that sounds familiar to me. See, last year I started experiencing a few nightmares. I only had a couple, but I had a couple nightmares related to my trauma where I was just laying there and I knew I was awake mentally and I could feel my body, but I could not move and it was like my eyes were glued shut. It was super glued, and I was
see,
still having the nightmare while being conscious.
see, mine will open, and with hag syndrome, a lot of times what you'll see is they call it a hag syndrome because a lot of people see an old woman. I'll see my mother, I'll see a John, something, and then it only lasts like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then you're awake.
Yeah,
But that 10 or 15 seconds is absolutely terrifying,
Quite a
you
roller
know?
coaster. You wake up sweaty with your heart racing, and ugh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you wake up and it takes a second to realize what's real and what was a dream, you
Right.
know? You got to convince yourself there's nobody here, you're safe, you're home, hubby's next to you, everything's okay. Um, but yeah, I suffered from that a lot, so I take medication so that I don't experience that.
Yeah,
Um,
commenting on my post, my doctor actually did prescribe me the trazodone. I'm yet to pick it up, but I'm sure that'll help me out a little bit.
yeah, that should help you sleep. If that doesn't help, there's a drug called Elavil,
Oh,
and
yes.
Elavil works great for sleep. It
Awesome.
really does. It really does. Now I take Depakote and Zyprexa, and they knock me out. Like,
Yeah, as I took some of what I was prescribed a couple months ago, and I quit taking it just because they prescribed it for schizophrenia, and I don't believe in the schizophrenic. But when I originally began taking it, it did help me sleep.
hmm yeah, if you take it during the day, forget it. Your day's shot. Your day's shot. You're
Well,
just going to be a vegetable.
after I took it for about a month, I started taking it in the morning instead of at bedtime. But yeah, after about a month, it didn't really make me a vegetable. Yeah, the tiredness went away, but it just didn't feel right, like the right medication for me to be on. So I discontinued it.
Yeah. And then I take it's actually a blood pressure medication that I
Uh-huh.
take for anxiety. It's supposed to like stop your heart from racing. It
Oh,
stops all the physical effects of stress and panic attacks, as
that's
opposed
interesting.
as opposed to taking something like, Xanax or
Yeah,
other addictive. Again, after what we've been through, the risk of addiction is so high. It
yeah,
is
definitely.
so high.
I've had my battles with benzodiazepines in the past. It's a one-way trip to Blackout City.
It really is. It really is. I'm not gonna lie, I use THC
I do
also.
too.
I use THC to help with my anxiety, and it also helps with pain.
Yeah, it helps me a lot with my anxiety and stress. I also feel like it makes me a little bit more creative.
Yes, I write so much better when after my dose. I'm like, okay, I can write this.
Yeah,
Um, it seems to slow my brain down enough that I can actually work.
right.
Um, and so many people are like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, I take it twice a day, like any other drug,
Yep.
and it helps. Like, what do you want me to say? It helps.
I
I
agree.
told my pain doctors I was not giving it up. If they didn't like it, I'd find somebody else.
Right, right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's actually in scripture. All of the plants were placed here for us to use. Now, I never said anything about smoking any plants, but I feel like if there was no good reason for marijuana to be on this planet, it simply wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Well, June 1st, it becomes legal here in Virginia, which is
Wow.
where I live. Yeah. I live just outside of DC in Virginia. So, like, literally, it's a 3-minute drive to the border of DC. So, and speaking of DC, they're one of the cities that are trying to legalize prostitution.
Yes, I've heard about this. I want to say that I've seen on a national list that I would think DC was right under Texas, which is ranked number 2. Or maybe, I believe I'm wrong. I believe DC was number 1 and Texas is number 2.
Yes.
Or Texas of traffic.
Here's what I think. I think that again, we need the Nordic model.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't do the Nordic model and you want to legalize it, right? They always
Yeah.
say, oh, well, girls would need to get HIV tests every 6 weeks and this and that. No. I want buyers to have to go to City Hall or DMV or wherever and get an ID card saying that they've registered as a buyer. And then they have to get the HIV test and the STD testing every 6 weeks and provide both to a legal prostitute.
There you go. That's a really good initiative and a very good idea.
You know, I mean, put the shame where the shame is. How many men are going to want to register?
Right. I'm sure they'll be lining up, winking and tongue singing out like a cartoon wolf. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it should go both ways. I mean, it should be, we don't want so much stigma on prostitution, but both sides should be tested if they want to go that route, and just keep everything as safe as possible for everyone.
Mm-hmm. But let's face it, it's not the girls spreading the STDs and the HIV. It's the Johns that are passing it on to the girls. So if they're tested, then yeah, the girls should definitely be tested just for their own health and safety.
Right.
But I think the stigma of having to get an ID and having to get tested would limit the number of men that are gonna do this.
It would.
It really would. I mean, how many husbands do you know that are gonna want to do that?
Yeah, exactly. They'll have to stick around.
You know? Now you're still gonna have loopholes and you're gonna have girls that aren't gonna care and all that. But for the most part, I think most prostitutes would be on board with that. You know?
Me too. I always strive for safety with my encounters. That was number one priority. And yeah, I mean, people often think of prostitutes as like reckless, and I don't think that's so much the case. I mean, there are a lot of sex workers who genuinely care about their health, don't want to spread anything to anyone else or contract anything. And yeah, I mean, I think that'd be a great measure to have in place.
Mm-hmm. And then I think some of the money from the registration should be funneled into programs to help girls exit.
You're brilliant.
You know, that's my answer. If we can't get the Nordic model, let's do it this way.
Yeah.
You know? I don't think very many men would be on board with this. So, anyway, back to how I got into everything.
Sure.
After I left that husband, I was doing marketing, making $13 an hour. Try supporting two girls on $13 an hour.
Yeah.
It's near impossible, especially considering here, like just a room to rent is $600 to $800.
Right.
You know, apartments start in the $1,200 and up range. At $13 an hour, you're not affording that.
No.
So I had a boyfriend who suggested that I started going into dominatrix work because then I didn't have to have sex with them, even though it was a sexual act. And he took half my money because he allowed me to do it.
What a friend.
I know. So then I answered an ad for a B&B that was like a hedonism type B&B where couples could come. This is how they portrayed it, where couples could come and have sex and
that's an orgy.
Yeah, and do whatever. There was a dungeon in the basement for them if they wanted to use that. My job was to clean up. My job was to help with equipment if they needed help, cook the meals, clean the B&B. This was what I was told my job was.
Right.
So one night, I'm hanging out with some of the girls that hung out there, as he put it, and we were all having wine. And I had a glass of wine, and I woke up the next morning with the worst hangover of my life. And I thought, oh my God, I drank too much. How much wine did I drink? You know, I'm only 105 pounds. It doesn't take much to get me drunk. So the next night we were all having wine, and I said, you know, I'm going to have one glass. That's it. I'll be fine. Yeah. Turns out that he was drugging the wine. He would drug it with Ambien, which is a hypnotic, Ritalin, which is speed. What was the other thing he put in there? I always forget the third thing. But he called it his Triple H. Happy, horny, and you know what? Being on camera, I keep forgetting. But basically what it did was the Ritalin overran the speed overran the Ambien. So you didn't go to sleep. You stayed in this hypnotic type of state. So that you were pliable.
Here's
and he was made
3 H's: harass, hypnotize, and what was my third? Horrible. There you go.
Yeah, horrible. Well, it turned out he was making porn. That was his way of making porn.
If you'll excuse me, keep talking. I'm gonna have to use the restroom again. I've drank too much coffee this morning.
Go right ahead. I'm gonna get a refill of my cup.
Okay.
All right. All right. Can never have too many cups of coffee. No such thing.
You sure can. I drank 6 today.
I'm on my second pot.
Yeah.
But I've also been up since 4 a.m. So.
Oh wow, long day.
Yeah, I wake up. That's the only thing I will say is it knocks me out so much, and the sleep is so good that I wake up between 4 and 5 every morning.
Yeah, they're late. Up at about 3 o'clock a lot of mornings, just from the nightmares.
Well, if you're ever bored and lonely, just send me a message. I'm normally up.
I've really enjoyed our conversation so far. It's nice to really get to learn more about each other here and see you face to face. So you were at this illicit brothel and being drugged and
put into BDSM porn. And then the third night, I said, you know what? I'm not going to have any wine. I'm not going to let myself, you know. And I went downstairs and I was cleaning up and everything. And the dressing room was this tiny little room, like a closet off the dungeon. So I'm in there straightening up, and he comes in with a cattle prod and the glass of wine. And he's like, either you drink it or you get zapped. And then you drink it. So I drank it. And again, no memory. Wake up in the morning with the worst hangover of my life. And yeah, so from there on out, that was when I realized what was happening. And
Yeah.
I couldn't leave. I had nowhere to go.
What a nightmare.
Yeah, I had already sent my daughters to live with their dad because I couldn't afford them.
It's good that they were able to get away from that situation.
Yeah. And then he sent me out to find other girls. And that was how I came home, came back, and there was police cars everywhere. He made the mistake of setting it up in a neighborhood right next to a Jewish day school. Like, they weren't going to notice people coming and going constantly.
You know? It's good when the wicked just get, in a bad situation from their own stupid behavior.
Yeah, he didn't think that one through very well.
No.
And then, like I said, I put one foot in front of the other. I met a guy. We started dating. And every time I would tell him I wanted to quit, he would say, well, you were doing this when I met you, so why are you going to quit now? I knew what you were. And it was like,
What a positive inspiration. I said, what a positive inspiration.
I know, right? So again, he took about 75% of my money. He trafficked me between DC and New York. I would spend Friday night in New York. We'd travel to DC early Saturday, spend all of Saturday, spend all of Sunday. Sunday night, get on a bus, go back to New York. Tuesday night, get on a bus, go to DC, spend Wednesday in DC, get on a bus, go back to New York. Like, it was a grueling schedule. And yeah, I did that for about 3 years.
Yeah, that is one of the tactics that traffickers use to get away with their crimes. So the constant moving is kind of like a shield for them.
Exactly. And he advertised me on high-end escort sites and things like Ashley Madison, which everybody thinks is about cheating. 90% of the girls on there are escorts.
Yeah, it's like that on any dating service or personal ads website that you find. And sometimes they're thinly veiled, sometimes not so much.
No, he had me on like sugardaddy.com, like all these other sites, and that's how he would get me.
It's a real blessing that Craigslist got seized a few years back, and now they no longer operate a personal section.
Yeah, they don't offer any personal ads, and I'm so glad that Backpage was confiscated by the government, because Backpage was the biggest. Everybody put them there. I mean, it was dirt cheap to advertise.
I remember I actually put up a Backpage. I didn't get any leads off of it, but I did have one.
I got probably about 80% of my clientele off of Backpage.
Yeah, pretty much all of mine came from Craigslist.
Okay, yeah. We didn't even bother with Craigslist because we knew the police watched it too much. And Craigslist would edit ads depending on the words you used.
Oh, yeah, they flag your ad in a heartbeat, take it right down. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. Excuse me.
You're fine.
Yeah, it is a good thing. They took down their erotic services after that whole Craigslist killer. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I've heard of it. I'm sure there's been several, but I do remember there was that one big one.
Yeah, the one big one where he was like meeting girls all over Boston and killing them, ordering an erotic massage, which we both know isn't a massage, and he would kill them. The only reason why one girl survived was her husband was downstairs and she didn't send him a text telling him that everything was okay. So he came up pounding on the door. Not
Yeah.
what the guy expected. So that ended up sparing her life. Yeah.
What a miracle.
Yeah. She didn't realize it at the time exactly, but yeah.
You know, it's not, you should never seek to get by through, living your life in a sex career, but Johns, they can be lifesavers sometimes. If a girl or a guy finds the right John and somebody that won't take advantage of them, that they can trust, that don't want to use them for their body, they can actually really help some girls exit the lifestyle.
Mhm. Mhm. I know a lot of girls that after that all happened that left the life altogether. And God bless them, they found a way out.
Yeah.
We don't do now shame eaters you were asking me about. Shame eaters is the outreach and rescue part of what we do.
Okay.
It's as a 501c3, the rules are kind of sticky about what we can and can't do. So we use shame eaters to help girls exit. We do Narcan outreach. We also are starting to do like standing outside of illicit massage parlors and stopping the Johns as they're going in. And
Awesome.
we have no problem shaming them.
Like,
yeah.
On blast.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'll say to them, we have your license plate number. We can run that. We can get your wife's name, your address, your neighbors. Do you really want them to know?
Right. That's a very good tactic to dissuade them.
Yeah, I find it's more effective than standing outside and praying for these men.
Oh yeah, I mean, we can say all the prayers in the world that we want, and it's good to pray for Johns and everybody in the lifestyle. But a lot of times our prayers and the goals that we wish to accomplish, we have to take action.
Mm-hmm. And the girls, a lot of the things that hold girls there, hold girls away from the church, hold them hostage in the situation is shame.
Yes, for sure.
So we call ourselves shame eaters, meaning we take on that shame, but we also place that shame where it belongs, which is on the men.
So now I think I understand because I just seen the title and I thought, well, perhaps this is an offshoot that Shannon does, and it's related to feeling shame over eating habits. And now that you explain it, I think I got a clear idea of it, and that's very cool and a great name.
Yeah. So we take that shame and we place it where it belongs, on the Johns. On the Johns, on the government that's complicit, all of it. Because the girls, it's misplaced. It's misplaced.
Yeah.
And
they just need somebody to love them and provide a helping hand and just stop that judgment.
exactly. And that's the biggest reason I want to work with churches is churches need to learn not to shame these girls. Not to
Fully.
Oh, you need to
There's a nonprofit in my local state, and it's ran by a wonderful lady. And then there is a man who also runs it. Well, I went to their fundraising banquet last year, and they have kind of their star pupil, if you will, who graduated from their program. Just phenomenal young lady, survived sex trafficking, and just really turned the tide and cleaned her life up. And but what really breaks my heart is that all the time on the internet and in person, they can't let her get up on that stage and speak, or they can't mention her name without showing her horrible looking jail mugshot. And like, it's like we're past that. She was a different person then. Stop exploiting her.
Hmm. And that's another thing that as survivors we need to be careful, because organizations and people will re-exploit you.
Definitely.
You know, for instance, I just had someone that volunteered and told me point blank he was doing it so he could find a job.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically, I was getting him into rooms that he wouldn't otherwise be able to get into without my story, without me being
Yeah.
there. And then he would network with the people there in hopes of finding a job.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I was like, you're re-exploiting me, you're using me. You
Yeah.
know, this isn't volunteer.
Feel that way. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. That's one thing that that I've considered, and one reason why I've been eager to help, because one day I would love to turn work like this into a career. I actually had applied for a job with the North Carolina Coalition Against Human Trafficking, and unfortunately they turned me down. But it feels great to actually have a bit of a professional experience now with performing work with you and what I'm doing with Shield and Sea. And
Hmm.
I really don't view the opportunity as a stepping stone in any regard. But
Hmm.
I feel like gets me a little bit under my belt, and I can help you in turn, and we can just magnify our
Hmm.
work.
My goal is to get this where I can hire people.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Because people that are paid are more likely to do their job.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do the fun stuff. They want to do the rescues and the outreach and the this and the that. They don't want to do all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Like,
Yeah, there's you have to take into account.
yeah, there's, a lot of outreach. I probably send about 20 to 30 emails a day to
Uh-huh.
churches and different organizations.
Are
And
you familiar with the church directory? That's where I found all those emails that I sent you the other day. There's a
no,
great site.
if
Um,
you if you could send me a
I'll
link,
send,
that'd be great.
yeah, I'll send you the link after we get done talking.
Yeah. So,
I can
no,
still
that
compile them for you because you have to click on them and go to their website and then find the email address. But it's very convenient and helpful.
that would be very helpful. Let me see. The way that I got out, the way I got out was really messed up. I was hired as a nanny for one of my Johns. Go figure
Uh-huh.
that one out. Go figure that one out. He was blind. He had custody of an 8-year-old girl. He needed somebody to help him take care of her.
Yeah,
So,
prostitution is being a John is very popular within the disability community. Some of these men feel entitled to be able to pay for sex just because they're disabled and feel unlovable.
exactly. So that's when I met my husband, when I was working as a nanny. And then once we got married, the nanny job kind of went to the wayside.
So your husband just like showed up at his house one day?
No, my husband and I had actually met. I went out. I'm a geek. I am a huge geek. I
Me too.
love Doctor Who. That's like my thing.
Oh,
Um, so one night at a local club, they were doing a screening of Doctor Who. They were going to start with the first episode and then go from there. And I walked in and he saw me walk in and he was like, "Oh, she's kind of cute." Didn't recognize me or anything because we had met 2 years earlier at a costume party.
no.
And so the screening finishes. I'm sitting at the bar. I'm talking to the people that were there, which is a bunch of geeky guys all looking at their shoes because they can't make eye contact. And I hear from behind me, "Is that you?" And I turned around. He had recognized my voice.
Uh-huh.
See, when he had met me, I had waist-length hair. I had cut all my hair off, so I had short hair. I looked a lot different. And I was like, "It's you!" And I promised myself, because the costume party was mine. And my rule was you don't date guests.
Yeah.
And if an employee dated a guest, they got fired. So
Uh-huh.
I couldn't break my own rule. And I really liked him, and we talked all night. But again, I
Sometimes
followed my.
that's how true love is, breaking your own rules.